I grew up in California originally. That's where I'm from. Live in New York now. But I found photography really early on. I'd moved from one part of the state to another and was experiencing a pretty profound amount of loneliness. And photography had kind of served as a way for me to sort of see the world, especially my lane of photography, which is documentary work. But in a little bit more simpler terms too, I found it in high school yearbook. And really the work every day took me to new places and I explored new subjects. And really now I'm still scratching that same itch. A lot of my work is showing up somewhere new for every shoot. The path forward was really clearly defined, that was a type of photography that I had wanted to do. So most of my work is really driven by storytelling. I'm mostly interested in focusing in the United States, and especially this really interesting juncture within the United States. It's a really important and pivotal moment in history, and I'm really driven by telling the story right now of the moment that we're in, which is a fractured America. It was a story I had to tell. It's a really personal story too. A lot of my earlier career had been shaped by living in New York, and there became a moment in 2014 where I had the experience of working in the middle of the country, and I had a really moment of reckoning as an American that I didn't know my country like I thought I did. And that really was what sparked this work, and me trying to understand what was happening, understand the country at a level that, I think was important and I'm still trying to unpack. How I decide on what images, I think that really comes in later. And when I'm making the work, especially in those high intensity situations, I'm just trying to gather as much possible material. And then I think when I get back to whether that be my studio or even a hotel room in Middle America, that's when I'm able to sort of extract what I found was really interesting and hopefully different about a really unfortunately commonplace situation. Working in that type of context, it's not exactly something that I find myself in regularly. When I'm there, I'm not as much interested in the high intensity sort of situations, the bang bang or the action, if you will. I'm really fixated on some of the more nuanced and sideline scenes that aren't as obvious. And even if they are obvious, depicting them in a way that's a little bit more different and hopefully interesting to the reader or the viewer. I think one that really specifically resonates, I was working on a series of pictures around evictions and home evictions, which was an unfortunate commonplace thing within the United States. There was a scene slightly before Christmas Day where I was with movers who were evicting a home of a renter, and the visual scene was not exactly dynamic, but I came across a moment where one of the movers was deconstructing a plastic Christmas tree shortly before Thanksgiving, and it sort of just spoke volumes to me where there wasn't much going on in the image. However, the symbolism of the Christmas tree, the hopefulness of having gifts underneath that, and then that sort of dream being shattered, that idea was more heartbreaking. I think tenacity is something I often think about when I think on my colleagues and sort of heroes. That is a common thing amongst making work within this medium. It's really fulfilling and really brutal, but it's also requires this sort of endless grind. A lot of my work really involves working in places that you're not allowed to work in. I thankfully learned that early on. This whole thing is a fight, and a lot of my work is like honestly sort of driven by that fight. A lot of photographers who I love and look up to really possess a level of tenacity that I'm constantly trying to access.